One of these three trackers has a battery that claims 14 days and actually delivers closer to 5 in real testing, and it's not the one you'd guess. Hit like and subscribe right now, because this is the deep dive version of our Whoop versus Oura versus Hume comparison. Every stat, every real-world test result, and everything you need to know before you actually buy one. What each device is trying to be shapes everything else, so start there. Whoop centers on daily training load and recovery, the device athletes reach for when they want to coach on the wrist. Oura centers on sleep and recovery specifically, wrapped in the most discrete form factor of the three. Hume centers on long-term metabolic health and longevity, the newest philosophy of the group, less concerned with today's workout and more concerned with how the body trends over years. Price is where the three diverge hardest, and the numbers tell the real story. Whoop runs entirely on subscription, zero separate hardware cost. Whoop 1 starts around $199 a year. Whoop Peak runs $239, and Whoop MG, the medical-grade tier with ECG and blood pressure tracking, runs $359 a year. Oura flips that model entirely. The ring itself costs somewhere between $300 and $500 depending on finish, a one-time hardware purchase. Then Oura's membership sits on top at $5.99 a month, or $69.99 annually after the first included month. Here's a detail that gets misreported constantly. Oura is not subscription-free. It's a one-time hardware cost plus an ongoing membership, just a smaller one than Whoop's. Hume Band 2.0 runs around $199 to $249 for the hardware, with an entirely optional $8.99 per month tier for deeper coaching. And here's the meaningful difference. Hume's core metrics and full functionality work without ever paying that subscription, while Oura specifically advises subscribing just to unlock its most important features. Battery life is where the marketing and the real-world testing start disagreeing. Whoop claims 14+ days. Independent testers who've actually worn it day to day report results anywhere from 5 or 6 days up to 12 or 14, depending on usage and settings, a range wide enough that the middle, not the headline number, is the safer bet. Oura Ring 4 runs 4 to 8 days in real use, and the new Ring 5, shrunk by 40% for comfort, actually holds slightly less charge at 6 to 9 days. Hume Band 2.0 claims 14 days, and extended real-world testing since its May 2026 release has gotten close to that number, a real jump from the original Hume Band's 5 to 7 days, putting it roughly on par with Whoop's best case numbers and ahead of Oura. Charging time tells its own story. Hume's full charge takes around 30 minutes, the fastest of the three. Oura takes about 80 minutes, longer than expected for a ring lasting only about a week. Whoop takes around 2 hours, but with one real advantage. Whoop Peak and MG include a slide-on wireless power pack, meaning the device keeps working while it charges. Oura and Hume both require full removal to charge, which for continuous sleep tracking means occasionally losing a night of data. Physical specs and FIT tell the rest of the comfort story. Whoop 5.0 weighs about 26.5 grams, measures roughly 35 by 24 by 11 millimeters, and carries IP68 water resistance rated to 10 meters. Oura's Ring 4 comes in titanium, sized like a noticeably thick wedding band, while the new Ring 5 shrank that down significantly, 6 millimeters wide and just over 2 millimeters thick, across 6 finishes. One sizing catch matters here. Oura dropped its available size range from 4 through 15 on the Ring 4 down to 6 through 13 on the Ring 5, so anyone on the small or large end should order a sizing kit before committing. Hume Band 2.0 takes a sportier wrist strap approach, built around an optical sensor array, 5 LEDs, and 4 photodiodes. With an upgraded strap material, this generation aims specifically at reducing irritation during intense workouts, a complaint some reviewers had with the original band. One compatibility detail trips people up constantly. Whoop 5.0 and MG currently recommend Android 11 or newer, and on iPhone, iOS 15 gets no support at all, while iOS 16 has limited support according to Whoop's own documentation. Check that before buying, not after, if an older phone is in the mix. and anyone upgrading from an older Whoop should know 4.0 bands and chargers aren't compatible with the 5.0 or MG, so new accessories belong in that budget too. Now for what everyone actually wants to know: how accurate are these things against each other in real use? Side-by-side testing on identical nights found Whoop logging 7 hours and 19 minutes of sleep against Hume's 7 hours and 35 minutes, a 16-minute gap on the exact same night, close enough that either number works for spotting trends over time. Heart rate during actual exercise is where the gap widens. During a 45-minute strength session, Whoop tracked into the hundreds and 50s at the hardest points of the workout, while Hume registered noticeably lower peaks on that same session, suggesting Hume may undercount intensity during harder training compared to Whoop's more sensitive tracking. A separate multi-year comparison adds more context. One long-term reviewer tracking both devices found Whoop's sleep and recovery tracking, which used to lag noticeably behind Oura's, has closed that gap significantly with the 5.0, to the point where serious athletes specifically now see Whoop edge ahead, while Oura has stayed reliable but comparatively static, the same core product, just with a newer app and a subscription fee that didn't exist a few versions back. So here's the actual verdict, stat by stat. Pure sleep and recovery insight in the most comfortable, most discreet package still belongs to Oura, especially for anyone who wants zero daily commitment and doesn't mind the smaller ongoing membership. Training intensity, athletic performance tracking, and now battery convenience thanks to the charge while wearing power pack all point toward Whoop, which has genuinely closed the gap and, for serious athletes, arguably pulled ahead. And anyone who wants the least visible day-to-day cost, the fastest charge time, and cares more about long-term metabolic trends than daily training numbers should look at Hume, the newest and most interesting option, provided that choice comes with knowing it's also the least proven of the three. Before buying any of these, here's what actually matters beyond the spec sheet. Whoop got hit with a formal FDA warning letter in July of 2025 over its blood pressure insights feature, the one built into the MG tier, because the agency determined Whoop's own marketing language crossed into an uncleared medical device claim rather than general wellness. Whoop also broke a long-standing promise around the same time, telling members for years that hardware upgrades were free after 6 months, then quietly deleting that promise and charging a fee when the 5.0 launched, before reversing course within 2 days under public pressure. Oura currently faces an active class action alleging it paywalled features that used to be free and that its blood oxygen sensor can be inaccurate by 4 to 6%, on top of a 2-year patent war that's gotten a competitor's rings banned from the US market entirely, and a growing relationship with the Department of Defense that's made a lot of its own customers uneasy about where their data actually goes. Hume, simply by being newest, hasn't hit lawsuit territory yet, but its proprietary scores, especially anything metabolic age or longevity related, haven't been independently validated the way Whoop's and Oura's older, more studied metrics have, so treat those specific numbers as promising rather than proven for now. So here's where that leaves anyone deciding between these three. All three are legitimately capable pieces of technology, and the right one depends entirely on what's actually being optimized for: sleep, training, or long-term health trends, and how comfortable paying for it feels, once, annually, or somewhere in between. Read the actual battery numbers from real testers, not the marketing headline. Check phone compatibility before buying, not after, and know exactly what each company has been caught doing before deciding whose data policy earns that kind of trust. If this deep dive actually helps settle the decision, that's exactly what the like button is for. And subscribe if the next comparison sounds worth catching before it drops.